Yo, I'm Mat4yo, and this is Chisel This. The time is finally here. You've asked for it for over a year now. And since I believe that the full ERB series is in a definitive shape right now, whether or not they make any more, it's time for my top 5 epic rap battles of history. I've been a fan of ERB since they started. I was a freshman in high school when they were making their first fistful of videos. At the time, I was making rather dull content on the web, so they inspired me to try rapping. Soon I started working with a fan series called Epic Rap Battle Parodies. Then I began analyzing every new epic rap battles of history since season 4. Flash forward from 2011 to 2016, and I had the opportunity to work with the real ERB to make 2 rap battles. Donald Trump vs. Hillary Clinton, and more specifically, Ash Ketchum vs. Charles Darwin. Epic Rap Battles of History has introduced a new brand of rap, one that is delicately choreographed with replay value through the roof. It encourages deep thought while providing a surface-based experience at the same time. It's both entertainment and philosophy. I don't think any other content is this deserving of all the time I spent analyzing it. This video is sponsored by me. My first single on my brand new studio album of real rap songs is out now on my channel. It's called Cool and Warm. It's very deep and it's very philosophical. Link in the description. Check it out now. You won't be disappointed. Let's get some important stuff out of the way first. My personal favorite rap battle is the one that I helped them make. Ash Ketchum vs. Charles Darwin. I had long anticipated Pokemon being in the Epic Rap Battle series, and never did I think that I would be a part of helping it be incorporated. But it was absolutely thrilling to see how my ideas came to life. For these reasons, I did not put that rap battle on the list. So know that if you came here for my personal favorite, yeah, it's Ash vs. Darwin. The following list is what I believe to be the best rap battles on a scale of creativity, uniqueness, substantiality, execution, and challenge. It is my opinion. You hear this a lot. You will most likely not agree and have your own list of favorites. That's okay. First, I have some honorable mentions. I think the best ERB, where it's a pure matchup of Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd, is Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates. The characters are perfect for them. They encapsulate the look and attitude so well. Not only that, but the battle has heightened stakes from the get-go, and it takes you several different places. There's a lot of real-life competition between Mac and PC, and you get to see it verbalized in rap form with this rap battle.
You will never, ever catch a virus on an apple. Well, you can still afford a doctor if you bought a PC.
But what are Nice Peter and Epic Lloyd's best roles? For Lloyd, I think he performed best as Teddy Roosevelt, Hannibal Lecter, Alfred Hitchcock, and Thomas Edison. For Nice Peter, I think he performed best as Ivan the Terrible, Beethoven, Napoleon Dynamite, Mr. Rogers, and Freddie Mercury. Their trademark face of ERB's brand characters are Teddy Roosevelt for Epic Lloyd and Abe Lincoln for Nice Peter. And their best performance together is Bill and Ted. I've actually made a top 15 list from this point forward. So here's what's going to happen. From numbers 15 to 6, I'm going to read a log line of what I think the battle achieves or encapsulates. A log line is one sentence that summarizes or sells a piece of content. So here we go. Honorable mentions, number 15. Mr. T vs. Mr. Rogers. In a matchup that features no similarities other than the title Mr., 2 poles of the personality spectrum collide with an elastic dynamic range and situational humor.
Get right back in your van, get the f*** out of my neighborhood.
Number 14. Santa Claus vs. Moses. ERB pulls off 2 characters at once, Snoop Dogg and Moses, in a matchup with Santa Claus, where 2 religious figures mock the 2 variants of the religion that split with Jesus Christ.
No bacon, but all the chosen people ever get for Christmas is jealous.
Number 13. Isaac Newton vs. Bill Nye. Weird Al Yankovic pours out his charm and whimsy into a scientific matchup that uses intricate riddling to target character flaws on both sides.
The integral sheet YUI from 0 to 1 6 of pi like a base E of the square root of 3 times the 54 power of 1.
12. Steven Spielberg vs. Alfred Hitchcock. ERB turns a curtain call into a royale where the best movie directors gather to diss each other and Michael Bay in any way possible. Plus, Wax gives one of the most fitting performances in ERB history.
A sad mother from the wallet to the penis.
Number 11. Edgar Allan Poe versus Stephen King. This matchup features the writing styles of 2 stylistic writers, one whose fiction inspires horror, and one whose horror inspired fiction.
Even you pretend to do it, I've been really living through it, misery and poverty and family woes.
Number 10. Mozart versus Skrillex. 2 worlds of musical composition clash in centuries worth of culture shock that highlights the diversity of music and mindset. Number 9. Babe Ruth versus Lance Armstrong. With athletic wordplay and striking comparisons, 2 corrupt sports superstars battle to see which is the better flawed protagonist. The question is, who do you root for? This battle has such a high spot primarily because of Babe Ruth's verses.
Well, that important attitude, you're like a menstrual cyclist. Too filled with more artificial ingredients than a baby Ruth. You're out for 3 strikes, just 1 ball.
Number 8, Teddy Roosevelt vs. Winston Churchill. 2 strong men battle with braggadocio to determine which is the number 1 non-fictional badass of our recently expired history. Number 7, Shaka Zulu vs. Julius Caesar. 2 ancient leaders face off in a battle whose lyrics are so fittingly creative, it feels so blatantly evident as if the battle wrote itself.
Fuck my body, just Cleopatra never.
Don't go rattling your sticks at me. If I wanted to Shakespeare, I'd waggle my biography.
And everyone knows you're just a chicken, Caesar.
Number 6, Thor vs. Zeus. The fundamental argument between the powers of ancient gods is packed tight with a broad display of creative lyricism, combative arguments, and insanely detailed cinematic sequences made from stop-motion Legos.
MC Hammer just got struck twice by grease lightning.
You've waited. It's time. Number 5.
Epic rap battles of history. Romeo and Juliet. Versus Bonnie and Clyde.
This battle earns its spot from its chemistry and charisma. The casting is perfect, with Lloyd and Peter and Hannah Hart and Grace Helbig. We see a lot of tag teams, but this is one where each counterpart is so vividly paralleled and the entire story is wrapped around the reason why. A lot of times I say we need a line to justify the reason for the matchup, but here the entire battle illustrates the reason why this matchup is justified. 2 couples, one fictional, one not, who have a rough journey through undying love that culminates in the nearly simultaneous death of both of the couples. Throughout the whole battle, there is this meta or self-referential feeling that there is some humor behind the characters. It's a cold-blooded murder couple versus a romantic tragedy from a Shakespeare play. And the way the actors portray that is just a smidgen over the top. Just enough to remain loyal to the real characters, but also to be a humorous hyperbole for we, the viewers. This is especially noticeable in the portrayal of Romeo and Juliet, whose behavior with each other is consistently theatrical. All the characters gaze into the other's backside whenever the other one's rapping. Both of these landscapes have a specific color tone to suggest the contrast and backstory. Bonnie and Clyde's world has an orange hue, representing a sunset on their bloody past. Romeo and Juliet's is more of a periwinkle midday tone. It's romantic. It's representing the irony of such a tragic story taking place in such a pure world. The story works so well because it takes clear steps forward and each step is matched by the other side. They walk in unison with one another. You know, like a relationship. Bonnie and Clyde introduce themselves with a threat.
I'll handle this, darling. I'm known to fire off some bars. 'Cause if these lovers cross me, they're gonna end up seeing stars.
And then continue to make character assassinations.
On this hissy fitting rich kid and this prepubescent vixen, I'm sick of it.
Romeo and Juliet introduce themselves with love instead.
My love, your face is beauty to behold.
And then they proceed to make character assassinations.
Oh God, thou artless, beetle-headed flattery.
In the middle, both couples speak on behalf of their partners as a form of defense and then retaliate with another diss.
Hey, partner, you best put a muzzle on your missus, for I teach her how we handle disrespect down in Texas.
You know my Romeo will beat your bow in contest blow for blow. He will do upon thine dick what you have done upon your toe.
This section has its own climax when Juliet gets shot. Then we proceed to recreate the real story of the couple, but in rap form. Even in this scene, everything maintains that level of self-referential humor.
Oh, I'm killed! What irony is this?
So your love can lick my ass, us with a diss.
I like the beat. I drop.
There is never a real serious tone in the battle, and its consistency with that motif from start to finish is exemplary. The way Bonnie and Clyde witness the demise of Romeo and Juliet is the way that I expect readers to react to it. It's just a big, what just happened?
Well, that was tragic.
That did not go as expected.
And Clyde says something so painfully obvious that we're all thinking, but are just too embarrassed to say.
Would have done that boy some good, just wait a couple seconds.
And that's the real tragedy in Romeo and Juliet. Not that they both wind up dead in the end, but that it was preventable if not for the rash temptations of love. Now, if you know the story of both of the couples, you know that they both end up dead. But how does that happen with Bonnie and Clyde now that Romeo and Juliet killed themselves? Well, nothing in this battle was without its counterpart. In the same way the real Bonnie and Clyde tried to get away with it all, they stand there proudly alive and guilty, only to be marauded in the same way their real story ended. The battle has a perfect ending too.
Who what?
Even the announcer can't believe what he saw. And if all the battlers are dead, then who won? Did anyone win? This is how Shakespearean literature normally ends. And it's a real cherry on top of a matchup written in the stars, basically. The lyricism is relevant, comparative, exploitative, and outrageously creative. And it makes you laugh so many times.
Where's Romeo?
You can watch it over and over again and laugh every single time. It's the tragic fate of young and dangerous love. This battle earns its spot for being funny, creative, aesthetically pleasing, and having a fully fleshed story arc that is derived from the actual stories and brought together through the uniqueness of ERB stories. Number 4.
Michael Jordan versus Muhammad Ali!
You may be surprised to see this one so high on my list. It's because it does so many things right in such a small package, wasting no time in creating this pithy bundle of entertainment. Key and Peele have a level of chemistry that is hard to come by. And even though they don't interact with each other as much as they did in MLK vs. Gandhi and MLK is a really good one too. Pretend that was in the honorable mentions. Their styles of creating visual arguments complement each other. Their bodies do half the talking for them. There's a lot of experience behind their careers, and the movements they make take us back to the old school days, something this battle does best. The instrumental is very sports-centric, sounding like something you would bump when you're playing street ball back in the 90s. It's old school, it's athletic hip-hop, and it fits perfectly. One of the main reasons this battle earned the number 4 spot is because of its lyrical structure. Sometimes you have a lot of ideas and they're all over the place. You can't merge them well with others. You end up adding extra bars in the middle just as filler to achieve those lines. You're compensating for transitions and leaving less room for compactness. It's so concise and to the point. Each big hit is set up with this layup and then a slam dunk. Some lines are direct punches,
Cause your rapping sucks more than Space Jam did!
while others are roundhouse jabs.
You stay at the Ritz cause you're sold out to crackers!
Lines that attack character.
Man, you needed a movement cause you're so full of shit!
Lines that utilize sports terminology.
I would pass the mic to Pippen, but I'm not done scoring!
And lines that directly reference moments in their history.
I saw you slapping Reggie Miller, boy, what's wrong with you? You fight like the little girls who make your Nike shoes.
And the order of these lines is perfect for the roller coaster ride. Part of the execution of these disses is so raw, and that's due in part to the actors, Key and Peele. There is something so unforgiving about the way they behave, even when he's pretending like, oh, don't hurt me. It's such a facade, and you can totally see through it. It's very reminiscent of a street-style battle rap where there's no music, but they take that same level of emphatic energy and they make it musical. There's at least 3 lines in this battle that I would award in my top lyric list.
Used to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Now you double dribble balls that nobody can see. Your whole basketball career's heard whack when you came back a wizard like Gandalf the Black. You stay at the Ritz cause you're sold out to crackers. Man, you needed a movement cause you're so full of shit.
The double dribble line takes imagery to a whole new level. If you don't know what this line means, basically it's a joke about Parkinson's disease, that he's shaking like this whenever he tries to talk. But when you do this, it's like you're double dribbling basketballs, and double dribbling is a fault in basketball. You can't double dribble. So, I mean, you have to run yourself in circles just to escape the box that you're in so that you can think outside of it long enough to be able to envision something like that. When you're writing, the imagery comes first and then the line comes second. But when you view it, the line comes first and then the imagery comes. They remove sports from its own realm and place it on a world scale. These people are not just sports icons, they affect the culture heavily. And each character makes time to debunk where the other one negatively influences culture or is a hypocrite. And it gets real, culminating in the rather jovial diss at the end.
Cause your rapping sucks more than Space Jam did!
That, I didn't like for the longest time. But after analyzing the flow of the battle, it makes sense to knock out the opponent with just a punch to the nose, instead of trying to get under his legs and come up from behind him and bend your elbow backwards and tickle his ear. I think that if you tried to make a Space Jam reference that was a bit obscure, then it wouldn't have been so powerful. But I think obviously there's other ways to do that, but I think that the way they did it was powerful in simplicity, like less is more. There was also excellence in directing and post-production. The landscapes are very stable, but have a lot to offer. Jordan often interacts with the basketball net in the background, and that really connects the realism of the environment. Overall, this battle scores really well with me because of its chiseled features and substantive content. It delivers on every aspect of an ERB: writing, acting, instrumental, directing, and producing. Number 3.
Rap battles of history. Lao Tzu, Sun Tzu, and Confucius versus Nietzsche, Socrates, and Voltaire.
Now you might know this, I've actually done an entire analysis on this battle already. This is a culmination of characters who represent Western thought, principle, and real critical thinking, and Eastern thought, believing in higher forces, primed on beliefs and culture, and abiding to the laws of their stable universal truths. I will link that in the description, it's a whole video, but I will outline why I think that this battle deserves one of the top spots. Philosophy is such a touchy subject, because you have major figures in history, writing what they believed at a time period, and then you have us, people in the present, who as time goes on try to read their work and guess what they would think about scenarios that never occurred during their lifetime. We try to interpret their text and get inside their mindset. The bottom line is you just can't get inside somebody's head that well. In some scenarios you can, but especially with these philosophers, it's very fleeting and situational. A lot of them even have their own little ironies and contradictions. They don't usually have problems misappropriating characters' mindsets and motives, but it's much more incumbent on them to accurately display what a philosopher might choose to do and say in a rap battle than, let's say, Justin Bieber or the Easter Bunny. The main reason these characters are being represented here is because of their worldview, their mindset, their speech, their style. Believe it or not, writing a rap battle is heavily influenced by all of those things. Sometimes it's okay to let your motive as a writer control where your character goes. Those are like malleable characters, like the Easter Bunny. But with philosophers, you don't only have to change what you write, but you have to change how you write. You have to place your brain in somebody else's head and then continue down their path. Given that they chose a whopping 6 philosophers to represent instead of just 2, I think it's safe to say that they took an overload of work and made out with something really spectacular that really paid off. You have each philosopher making decisions in line with what they would do in real time. You see the Westerners make a big point that the Easterners are conformists who derive their philosophy from a higher, ubiquitous source that governs the whole as a group.
You need to take control of their life.
Free thinker, so confronting conformists like you, it's my job.
They are inculcated by their culture to focus their line of thought in one direction, whereas the Westerners are more individually inspired, like free thinkers. But in contrast, you see the Easterners calling the Westerners sloppy, undisciplined, and uncultured in the way that they don't abide to one governing philosophy for all.
You Westerners are sloppy, needing discipline in life. You lack control of yourselves and of the mic.
The Easterners believe in this sort of sixth sense where there's like the Tao or spiritual force that guides the soul. The Westerners are more like realists, I guess. They kind of believe you control the decisions you make, and whether or not they agree universally on which decisions are good and which are bad, at least the ones that are represented have the idea that there is no universal truth. Like Socrates says, I know that I know not. I know that I know nothing. They know that there is either something greater that we don't know and that we can't let guide us, or that there's not something great at all. A lot of it is guided in realism and what you decide to do in real life while you live. So it is a huge contrast. You see Socrates posing questions. You see Sun Tzu using tactics to instigate those on the other side to turn against their teammates.
Honestly, I think you owe both of your students here an apology.
What could have been a cluster of rambling and fleeting emotions turned into a structured 3-on-3, with less time wasted and more time substantiated. Not only that, but the writers challenged the status quo of the rap battle format in the same way that these philosophers challenged the status quo of whatever the popular opinion was at the time. Instead of maintaining party loyalty, all the philosophers eventually turn on each other and criticize the character and beliefs of each other. This is specifically fitting for philosophers given their pride in intellectualism. They are less prone to acquiesce and more prone to stand for what they believe, focusing on their individual mindset instead of trying to get their team to win. Think of it like people not supporting the political party that they share the most in common with just because they don't like the candidate. You saw this happen a lot in 2016. The Never Trumpers. You can make the argument either way, but I think it's going to be the ideologues who put their principles ahead of the party's success. It's exactly what happens here. They don't care about necessarily winning for their side or for their team. They care about being able to sleep with themselves at night. There's a lot more moving pieces in this battle, but it all still has to make sense. They execute this in a way that seems effortless, but also in a way that you know it was a mammoth task to undertake. There's also little idiosyncrasies to appreciate, like the philosophers' behaviors when they aren't rapping, or Sun Tzu taking pictures of the fight between the Westerners. They also have a diverse cast and utilize their talents well. Take the beatboxing, for example. The actor, Korean Effects, is known for his beatboxing, so you have him beatbox in the rap battle.
You killed God, so I gotta ask. Did he die your shame when he made your mustache?
Good use of resources. Also, they turn Nietzsche into one of those trademark ERB characters with the exaggeration of character, and you get to see a lot of top-tier lines from him.
Oh, I'll give you something you can bow and kowtow to. And I squat down and squeeze out a dow of poo and lao tzu. Don't make Nietzsche come over and put a knee up in your cheek. 'Cause I'm Nietschche, and I'll ain't any motherfucker like my name in a spelling bee.
You also see the Asian philosophers getting modernized into the present-day genre that is perpetuated by Tim and MC Jin.
Asian spitting sick, but no, this isn't sauce.
Which is really fresh and adds a layer of ERB-styled humor that you can't get anywhere else. It's half character and half actor. It's a lot of good chemistry between the teams that ultimately collapses on itself in an entertaining way. There is a lot to love in this rap battle, and it tells more stories than one. It's the history of two vastly different directions of thought, and their own different directions, conglomerated in a fictional period of time. You won't see this anywhere else but in epic rap battles of history. Number 2.
Epic rap battles of history. Alexander the Great. Ivan the Terrible.
Ivan the Great versus Alexander the... Oops. Ivan the Terrible versus Alexander the Great. I've done an entire analysis on this battle alone as well. Notice how this battle doubles as a history lesson and a rap battle. So you can check the description for that, but I will give a summary on why I think this battle deserves its spot. This is an elaborate story created by ERB, with inspiration from history. There's no mold to follow and no rules to abide to. Ivan is evil and he will do anything to win, including pretending to lose. I will go as far as to say that this role is Nice Peter's greatest role in ERB history. Listen to how evil and morally barren this person sounds.
My stomach's riddled with holes!
I'm terrible.
Only a truly black-hearted person could make a pun of his own name in what seems to be a complete acknowledgement and pride of his own sins. That's the worst kind of evil, malicious intent. Not only does this man show malicious intent, but he does so using trickery and deceit, luring in his enemies with a form of hospitality as if he's some kind of predator. He revels in the glory of his malevolence, and finds pure joy in what we find pure evil. In real life, that's a bad guy. In this rap battle, that's a spectacular performance. His voice is still nailing all of these tiny inflections that are indicative of a pure portrayal of character.
But at least I saved the rubles on the gut wire.
These sounds don't sound forced. They're coming from a raw place in his chest, and it's painting such a vivid picture with our ears. This concept of dramatic irony with the misleading antagonist is something that you see in movies, but it's condensed to 4.5 minutes and interpreted by this unique medium. Just like any movie, you have a hero stopping the villain. But in this story, we cycle through several protagonists until we get one that emerges victorious. This is brought full circle by Catherine thwarting the motives of the villain with his own methods.
Checkmate!
You don't actually see Ivan die, but metaphorically, his chess piece falls and hers stands. He died playing chess in real life. His is the only metaphorical death in the episode, and it's so telling to see his motives die rather than his actual mortal self. I think this battle is the qualifier for the word epic in epic rap battles of history. There is also a lot of lyrical scheming with a lot of different styles of rap. The sinister track blazer.
Try to survive and no survive it.
The triumphant rhyme meddler.
Reek for the glory I got from winning every single war that I fought. So this'll be straightforward. I'll take up this sword that I brought and slice you in half like the Gordian knot.
The hasty beat groover.
Oh, blink attack, Dr. said exactly straight.
And the smooth assassin.
Couldn't spin in my chamber if there's a Russian roulette.
The creative choice to diversify those styles, as well as include a singing rap verse, is a first in the series and gives this sense of completion. Let's not forget about these elaborate costumes that really throw you into a time warp to understand these characters better. A lot of battles feel like they end too fast, and like there's more to be desired. With this one, you almost expect it to end at certain points. but then you get more than what you asked for. In some ways, it is a risk to push the limit of the attention span of the audience. But for me, it was a brave dive into history and a resurfacing with brand new undiscovered gems. Fun fact, when Nice Peter reached out to me to begin working with ERB, he told me that they considered getting my help researching for this battle, but they actually found it easier and a lot quicker than they had anticipated, and they finished it on their own. A part of me is happy that they didn't reach out to me then, that fate just ran its course, because this battle is humongous, and I really love the way it turned out, and I know that it would have been difficult for me to contribute from this side of the screen. There's actually an unreleased version of the battle that you can hear.
Yes, I hear you. Enjoy the thunder.
Bad war stories are pile of shit.
Oh wait, no, turn it off. Now for number 1. What is a mix of my personal favorite and the best challenging, accomplished ERB of all time? I must make something clear. The definitive epic rap battle of history and the best ERB that they've ever made are two different things. What I mean is, if I wanted to show somebody who's never seen it before what ERB is all about, I would not choose this one to speak for the rest of them. You would show them ones with the ERB style, like Lincoln vs. Chuck Norris or Roosevelt vs. Churchill.
What's up, bitches?
But this, in my opinion, considering all factors I mentioned earlier, is a combination of my favorite and the best rap battle that they've ever made. Number 1.
Rap battles of history. Jack the Ripper versus Hannibal Lecter!
You have to ask yourself this question. Does the matchup have a fundamental reason for existing? Some battles are made in reality, like Trump versus Clinton and Steve Jobs versus Bill Gates, while others are made in fiction, like this one. It's not a battle that has to happen, but ERB has this charm to make matchups that you never knew you needed to see. That's the key to their success. Hannibal Lecter versus Jack the Ripper does this and so much more right. First is the lyrics. Dan Bull guest stars as a rapper and a writer, and his talent shines through in the way this battle is written. We have similar pride in lyricism. He focuses a bit more on rhyming, I focus a bit more on story. Wouldn't you like to see that come together one day? I don't know, maybe tweet it out. I don't know. Multi-syllabic rhyme schemes decorate the soundscape, creating a chilling sensation of dominance that this person does not mess around.
Oi mate, pass the liquor, it's Jack the Ripper, Jack the Rapper, following you way before the dawn of Twitter.
Dan's British accent, or Cockney, actually lends itself to a lot more opportunities in rhyme scheming. Given there's a trade-off, the British language can't do some stuff that the American one can, but you get the idea. It's different. Pass the liquor, Jack the Ripper, dawn of Twitter, human trigger warning till the morning, sick appalling.
I'm a human trigger warning through the night until the morning. When the light shines upon my crimes, you find it sick appalling.
Notorious delinquent, more gorier thing than Victorian England.
An infamous notorious delinquent, there's little more gorier thing than living in Victorian England.
Horrorcore, common whore, on your door, blood and gore, scrubbing floors, looking for bloody raw. Not all that rhymes in the way that I speak. It's a new vocabulary for a new character to abuse. But it's not like his talent is unmatched. Hannibal Lecter stops him in his tracks and points out a severe character flaw.
Jack, you're a classic, a megalomaniac. You haven't mentioned me once in your entire battle rap.
Jack is too concerned with himself to even make a diss about his opponent. This clears the balance sheet and lets Lecter go to town on Ripper. This is kind of a wake-up call to Jack the Ripper. He starts this battle with this high sense of confidence, only to be told that his murder tactics do not translate well into rapping. Lecter is more careful and more calculated. He punishes Ripper at the end of his verse by erasing his brag sheet.
But these days your nickname is all that's even known, and you didn't even come up with that shit on your own.
Now Ripper is on total defense, but don't think that his skill has dissipated. He actually just comes out and says something that's like,
I'm real!
Okay, you win. We've got a really obtuse word, brothel, coming in for a good rhyme scheming.
Vacancies in brothel, the pages of a novel, ages in the hovel, a cage behind a locked door where I never got caught.
Again, British accent. Also, he makes a powerful point in response here. He's always on the loose and has never been caught. And he's, dead now. We can only assume unless he's immortal. So he's never gotten caught. Lecter is stuck in solitary confinement, virtually caught for eternity. But when Lecter comes back, he tears all the walls down again.
Oh no, Jack, you are doing fine.
But there's some really neat rhyming in here.
I'm the boom from the violence, a licensed psychiatrist, 2 times in highest society to the sound of violence.
And then he makes the ultimate argument.
You prey on a prostitute and play with her body. I don't mind that you're naughty, Jack. I hate that you're sloppy.
And this line is so telling, because you remember that this battle is not between a murderer and an innocent person. It's not about good versus bad. The real criticism isn't what Ripper wants from his victims, but it's the method he obtains it with. Lecter has painted up cannibalism as something revered or glorified, something that he performs with manners. You really see how deeply psychotic Hannibal is, while at the same time seeing how deeply wild Jack the Ripper was. And it's not the lyrics alone that make this my top rap battle. It's the genuinely sinister nature of the characters. This battle doesn't take you anywhere. Rather, it pulls you in. It does something different than the rest of the battles that I've listed. You get sucked into this vortex of darkness where everything's inverted. Wrong is right. Right is wrong, and neither disagree. It's a battle to see which person is worse, not which person's better. And the reason that it's number one is the way that this concept takes form. Look at the acting. Neither character blinks throughout the entire battle. You look into Jack's eyes and you see a void, character that lacks a soul. His eyes are gray with vacancy. We can't look there to find the mood of the character because it's empty, or maybe that is the mood of the character. He is empty. He's visceral. He's reactionary. He just goes for whatever he feels. The consequences don't matter. All the raw emotion is spilled out elsewhere in his body movement and his vocals. And then we see Lecter, who looks rather seductive. You feel he wants something from this battle. And maybe that something is not really anything at all. His expressions play those games with your head, and Epic Lloyd executes all of them perfectly, as if an animator was drawing every single one of them. He is also lit from the top in a way that casts a shadow onto his eyeballs from his eyebrow shelf. Either looks like he's demented or he's drifting off into an alternate reality. He is so warped. You really see this contrast between Jack, who seems to be vicious in nature, and Hannibal, who has this lust for death, and it's almost like it's misguided. He craves it. It's what he wants to fill himself with something because he's so empty. And I'm not even saying that this is just the character himself. I'm saying that this is the way that you see it in the rap battle. I'm not talking about the actual Hannibal Lecter from the story. I'm talking about Epic Lloyd's Hannibal Lecter. You get this message from him. This is the foreground, but the background information tells us much more. Their visual backgrounds demonstrate the difference between the open street and solitary confinement. There are two different environments within the same universe, with different rules for the characters to exhibit their behavior in. One is being watched, one can't be found. Not to mention, this instrumental is one of my favorites that ERB has ever used. The sinister guitar strum and the chamber mallets are accompanied by cinematic sounding orchestras, and the tensions rise and they fall, and it's calm and it's seductive and it's horrifying. Not only that, but the vocals for each rapper are enhanced using whispers that tail off at the end, or even subtle harmonies that just shake your core, especially when you're wearing headphones. Horrorcore! It's not that this battle has the best lyrics or is the most unique idea. We've already kind of ran through which ideas are the most unique, but it takes the fundamentals of epic rap battles of history and it inverts them. Instead of comparing two separate universes, we get a comparison of two separate perspectives within the same murderous universe. Instead of starting the battle with a normal and taking the viewer outside of it, the viewer is sucked into the static landscape and empty souls of the characters. Instead of the writers looking for the punchlines that strike our funny bones, this battle unearths the most serious, sinister, and chilling disses. It makes you say, wow, that was deep, instead of saying, wow, that was funny. It's ERB stepping out of their comfort zone with comedy and tackling a subject that requires changing the way that you think and normally create the stuff that you make. You have a method to the madness, but here you have madness infiltrating the method. And with a movie character that has such defined facial features and expressions, it's not a free-for-all for Epic Lloyd. He has to master someone else's whole being instead of mimicking someone else and adding in his own flair. There is no room for fun and games here, which makes this, in my opinion, by a slim margin, the most mentally challenging and rewarding epic rap battle of history. Of course, there are so many great rap battles, and it's so difficult for me to give a reason as to why one is the definitive best among the rest. But I tried to make that number one spot something earned instead of something granted. I thought it was too easy to give the bigger ones the number one spot, because they have the advantage of more characters and longer time limits, and more creative freedom. There's a direction that the writer can take it in. With Ripper versus Lecter, there's only two characters, There's a short amount of time just to keep the attention span. And there's a very thin line that you have to walk between the boundaries of a savage killer and a psychopath. There are rules to follow and rules to break. And I think the experience of watching that rap battle is exhilarating. It has a lot of replay value. It's dark, it's demented. The music captivates you. It's a song, it's a battle, it's a rap, it's a piece of lyrical art, and it's an award-worthy performance. What's your top 5? Leave a comment below. My album is coming out this summer. You don't want to miss it. The first single is out now, and it proposes a very deep philosophical question that I'd love to have you answer, so check out the link in the description. Who do you want me to collaborate with on the album? I have a lot of people I'm planning on working with, and these are normal philosophical story-based rap songs. I'm still going to be featuring Kevin Crust, Hoops and Hip Hop, G.E., Ashton Larold. Who else do you want to see? Leave a comment and tell that person that you want to see a collab. Tweet at me at Mat4yo. And if you want to know what my favorite lines are in an epic rap battles of history, you'll have to join the Chiseler School, where I provide personal writing assistance, behind the scenes extras, and you can come have a convo with me on my podcast. Stay subscribed for more Chisel This. We got rapping tutorials. We're going to chisel Bart Baker and Princess rap battles. Maybe get into some epic rap battles of history that I would have made differently and actually rewrite them for you. But right now, I'm going to get back into the lab and work on my album. I'm Mat4yo, and that's all for you today.
There's this dude that makes critical reviews of the rap battles that are really scathing. We've encouraged him to continue doing that even though he's now helped us. He wrote volumes of information and lines. Thanks, Matt. Go watch his videos if you're not Matt. They're very well made.
There are numerous ways to keep a group in its place. You leave them cooped in a cage or get them neutered and spayed. Oh, what I do for the day when people knew what they say were just the stupidest phrases that could ruin the nation. We ain't fluent in truth, we lie on our own roots. Screw an air conditioner, we need air shampoo. We can spend our days obeying to the chairman.